Canada and China have signed a series of agreements on areas including climate change on Thursday during a visit by Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper aimed at jump-starting ties between the two countries. The agreements come days ahead of a global climate change summit in Copenhagen and follows a report in the Guardian newspaper which says Canada's environmental record stands as the biggest obstacle to progress in Denmark. Harper held talks with Chinese leaders on the second day of his visit to China, the first such meeting for almost 5 years. Ties have been prickly in recent years, with Harper's government criticising Beijing's human rights record and granting the Dalai Lama honorary citizenship. China says it hopes Iran will work with the International Atomic Energy Agency to promote dialogue and negotiation for an early solution to the Iran nuclear issue. China voted in favour of an IAEA resolution which was passed in Vienna last week, which called for the full cooperation of Iran to clarify all outstanding issues involving its nuclear programme. The United States, Russia and France also approved the draft deal. A draft agreement has called for shipping most of Iran's existing low-grade enriched uranium to Russia and France to be processed into 20% enriched uranium fuel rods for Tehran's research reactor. But Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad said on Wednesday that Iran would process the uranium itself. China's Commerce Minister Chen Deming says the world should pay more attention to the stability of the dollar rather than the value of China's renminbi. He argued the two currencies' effects on the global economy is incomparable and said an unstable yuan would have a very bad impact on the global economy. He added that the focus of global attention shouldn't be on the yuan's exchange rate, but on the dollar's stability. 12-month non-deliverable renminbi forwards were little changed at 6.62 per dollar on Thursday, indicating traders expect the yuan to gain 3% over the next year. The People's Bank of China has kept the renminbi rate at around 6.83 per dollar since July 2008. 5 people have been given the death penalty after being convicted of murder and other crimes committed in the July 5th riots in Urumqi in Xinjiang. The trials were held on Thursday amid a strong police presence both in and outside of the courtroom. They were conducted in the Uyghur language with translation provided for those present, which included many of the relatives of the defendants and victims. 2 others were sentenced to life imprisonment and another 6 were given jail terms. The trials were held a day after Xinjiang Muslims celebrated the 5-day holiday for Eid al-Adha, the festival of sacrifice. 5 other cases were due to be heard on Friday. 9 people have already been executed in connection with the riots. Meanwhile, 22 Uyghurs who took part in the riots have surfaced in Cambodia, sparking concerns that Cambodia will ignore their requests for asylum and return them to China. The group, which includes 3 children, trickled into Cambodia over the past several weeks, according to Omar Kanat, Vice President of the World Uyghur Congress. He said that 2 additional Uyghurs had been detained in Vietnam and that 5 others who were known to have fled China into Vietnam have disappeared. A spokesman for the Chinese embassy in Washington has called for the Uyghurs to be returned to China. Droughts and floods stoked by global warming threaten to destabilise China's grain production. That's according to the nation's top meteorologist, who has called for bigger grain reserves and strict protection of farmland and water supplies. Extreme weather damage can now cause annual grain output in the country to fluctuate by around 10 to 20% from longer-term averages. But Zhang Guogang, the head of the China Meteorological Administration, said global warming could widen the band of fluctuation in annual production to between 30 and 50%. China is the world's biggest grain producer. And that's the BON News headlines for now, but we'll be back with more news after this.